Hello, Baron Dibitus here with another video for the Board Game Shelf, and here I'm talking about Dominion, often considered to be the game that introduced deck building to board games, essentially. If you don't know what deck building is, if you don't know what a deck building board game is, essentially it's a game where everyone starts the game with like a very weak, mediocre deck, and it's like the same thing, like very basic things. But you use the card in your deck to buy better cards to build your deck as you're playing the game. So you don't come in with a pre-constructed deck like Pokemon or Magic or something. You build the deck as you play. Some of the previous videos in the Board Game Shelf went over Aeon's End and all the Aeon's End games. Those are deck building games. Aeon's End is a cooperative deck building game. This is a competitive deck building game where you're trying to get the most number of victory points by the end. Specifically, Dominion has a lot of expansions, and specifically I have these things. So I have the base game, I have Intrigue, and I have Prosperity. And I've stored it all in the Prosperity box because the base game and the Intrigue, they came in a double wide box, essentially. Like, imagine this, two of these boxes put together. That was the one box that had both the base game Dominion and the Intrigue expansion. So I wanted to sort of save space and put them all in just one thing. But yeah, and it doesn't look, certainly not the prettiest, but this is it. These are all of the cards. It's been a little while since I've played Dominion, but I did try to keep things organized with all of the money cards, all the various money cards together, all the various estate cards that have that give you victory points, and other various kinds of cards and everything. But yeah, Dominion is it's a fairly straightforward deck building game where you start with very bland cards like copper and normal estates and things like that, and you basically have to pay in order to purchase card. You have to pay this cost right here. So in this case, 6 gold to get Grand Market, and then it just says then you put cards that you acquire in your discard pile, standard for many deck building games. And then when you run out of cards in your deck, you just kind of shuffle your discard pile, and you flip it over, and that you refresh your deck with your discard pile. So when you purchase a card, you'll get it later. You get to use it later, but then, for example, if I purchased this earlier, then once I finally get to play it, then I would be able to draw 1 extra card. I would get 1 extra action. I would get to buy 1 additional thing, because normally you can only buy 1 thing per turn, and you would get 2 extra coin. So there's a reason this costs a whole 6 coin, because it gives you a lot of things. Another card, another action, another buy action, and just another... and just more coin. An action, by the way, is basically playing a card that's not coin, essentially. So yeah, that is the basics of Dominion. Again, the complexity, any complexity or anything comes from the various cards that you play with and how they interact with each other. One thing that's really fun about Dominion is that you do not play with all the cards in one game. You basically choose which cards will be in the game, and that will change the flavor. There are some cards, for example, that involve curses, which are negative victory points. And that's why there are lots of different expansions, because you can customize your game in many different ways. So, for example, the Intrigue expansion kind of has a bit more of cards that are themed after political intrigue. I think there's a little bit of a masquerade ball theme to it as well. And then Prosperity has to do with things are bigger. There's it includes cards that have higher coin values, higher victory point values, things just getting bigger and better, essentially. But yeah, that's there's various tokens and things that interact with various cards. But that's pretty much it. I love Dominion, and I'm glad to have these particular expansions. I got these because my mom actually found these in an auction. Got them for pretty cheap, and I was able to get them pretty cheap from her as well. So I'm grateful to have these Dominion things. There's I think there's 12 expansions to Dominion or something like that. It's a huge amount. I do not need that many. Having this much, even the base game would be enough, but having this is plenty for me, honestly. And I don't mind that the box is kind of falling apart a little bit. It's secondhand anyway. This is a bit heavy because there's a lot more cards in here than this box is normally meant to hold. So if this box does actually fall apart and can't hold cards anymore, I'll just find a different way to store them. Normally, Dominion comes with a really nifty tray so that you can like really easily just kind of like pick out the cards you want. And I would have loved to have kept those trays, but it would not have held all of the cards in one box. So I prioritized space over, ease of use, essentially, especially since I have so many board games. But yeah, very happy to have a Dominion. It's been around for a while, and I love that it's essentially kind of kicked off inspired a lot of other deck building games. And along with Aeon's End, there is at least one other deck building game that I have, which I haven't shown yet. It's called Star Realms, which I love. Like, Star Realms is my absolute favorite deck building game ever. And I'll talk about that eventually, of course. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and until next time, all the best.